हम ऑफ कर दीजिए।
You're on mute.
No one told me also. I was chanting in mute. Are there any questions? No questions? Okay, let's just chant again since. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So beyond the waking, beyond the dream, beyond the deep sleep states of consciousness is your real state. Beyond the waker, beyond the dreamer, beyond the deep sleeper lies your real identity. You. Your life, your consciousness extends across these three states of existence. There is a fourth state that you can reach. There is a fourth state of consciousness that you are capable of experiencing, that I am capable of experiencing. And it is akin to waking up from a dream. It is like that. So to focus our energies towards experiencing that awakening is the path of spirituality. And he had said specifically that a human being needs to be spiritually evolved to raise this question, to even proceed with this. And what he meant was that the urge, the desire, the quest for this doesn't come on day one. It is something that slowly you grow to as you evolve, as you awaken, as you lift your personality with spiritual values. This is something that will grow in you. It's called mumukshatra, the desire for liberation, the desire to awaken, the desire to make yourself free. And The famous story in this regard is of King Janaka, which we mentioned last time. So the entire Ashtavakra Gita is uh, sprung from this very question. Am I the waker? Am I the dreamer? Who am I? That was King Janaka's question. And in answer to that question, Sage Ashtavakra gave a wonderful reply. And then ensued a conversation. King Janaka didn't need, I mean, he already knew. He just wanted a reassurance. He was as much a jnani as anyone. He was an incredible intellect. He was an evolved person who was ready to ask this question, who was ready to uh, spring onto the fourth state of consciousness. So, Tattvamasi, that thou art. You are that fourth state. You are beyond the waker, beyond the dreamer, beyond the deep sleeper. You are God. Your real being, Aham Brahmasmi. The body is not God, your mind is not God, your intellect is not God, your ego is not God. Your real being is God. That which you are unbeknownst to, that which you are not familiar with, that which you have forgotten in the confusion of your ego, the I which you misidentify with your egoistic material equipments, that real I is God. The next section, I am God.
I am God. The entire humanity uses the pronoun I to indicate one's individual personality, to mean either the waker, dreamer, or deep sleeper, but never to mean the real self, Atman. Everyone is hypnotized to believe oneself to be a finite, limited being. In such a hypnotic state, it becomes extremely difficult to drive home the idea that you are not what you believe yourself to be, that you are the Supreme Self, that you are God. You reject the thought as absurd, something impossible. But the truth remains, you are God. You must realize the truth, discover yourself. The affirmation, I am God, is not the same as affirming, I am Indian, I am bachelor, I am tall, etc. These statements are fundamentally different from declaring yourself to be God. The words Indian, bachelor, tall qualify the subject I. Indian is one thing and I is quite another. So are the other qualifications, bachelor and tall, distinct from I. They are properties, attributes belonging to I. But the affirmation, I am God, conveys something different. The word God does not qualify I. God is not a property attribute describing I. The statement I am God is not the same as I am Indian. The statement means I and God are one. Example, analogy of the rope.
So the statement means,
Utsav, we haven't done the King Janakawala reading.
oh, we didn't read through it, is it?
Yeah, we have to start from King Janaka was an evolved person.
Okay. Okay, we'll come to that. The statement I am God is not the same as saying I am Indian or I am a man or I am whatever from this community, from that community. All of these ways in which you describe yourself, they are qualifications. The statement should actually be I is God. The actual statement should actually be I is God. It's an equivalence. What is I? I is God. Who am I? So this I within you, which you constantly mistakenly qualify with these finite notions is actually infinite. To discover that is your purpose. And to discover that is what King Janaka got onto. Who am I? That was his question to sage Ashtavakra. So I'll just read through the portion. So King Janaka was an evolved person. One night he dreamt a horrible dream. He dreamt that he was a beggar in the street, suffering from penury and starvation. He shot out of his bed. Even as he woke up to be the king in the luxury of the palace, he could not shake away that vivid experience of the beggar. He wondered, how could he have been the beggar just a while ago and now the king? So King Janaka summoned his ministers and posed the famous question ever asked by a human being. Am I the king who imagined that I was a beggar? Or am I the beggar now imagining myself to be the king? Who am I? So, recall that we always say, what matters when you spring out of a dream is that recollection that just a moment ago it felt so real. The moment ago, what you were experiencing in the dream state, it suddenly goes into nothing. But just a moment ago, it was so real. So that's exactly what King Janaka managed to retain, and not for a moment. See, you and I will retain it for a moment, and then get along with our day, and then we'll get along with our business. Oh yeah, very insightful. Chalo, let's get on with what we have to do. But King Janaka held on to that thought for days. If something is important to you, you'll hold on to it. So it was something that was important to him. So his ministers couldn't answer his question. The ministers were totally perplexed and could not answer the king. They lacked the spiritual acumen even to appreciate the magnitude of the question. Are you able to appreciate the magnitude of this question? I'm afraid we are not able to appreciate the magnitude of this question. Forget the answer.
We'll think he's a madman.
Some funny obsession he has. Chalo, I'm not interested in this. So we are like the ministers, must. We're not able to understand the magnitude of the question. Forget the I keep doing this. Forget the answer. Even the question itself, the depth of it. Time passed, but the king could not be appeased. Time passed. It's not that immediately sage Ashtavakra came and answered his question. No, time passed. But he still held on to that inquiry. The indefatigable question persisted in his mind. And that's what the Upanishads also do. See, back in the day, when you read the Upanishadic stories, the tales, the master didn't immediately give the answer to the student. See, a lot of times students want to impress the master. Look how smart I am. Look at the questions I'm asking. Look at my inquiry. The masters don't immediately answer the student. They want to test the student. Is this question actually deep, serious? It's like someone in passing, at a restaurant will ask me questions on Vedanta. I won't immediately answer it. So the masters tested the student. Is he actually sincere? Is he worth spending my energy on? Is he or she worth spending my energy on? Because the depth of one's desire to know is tested through the persistence of their question, their inquiry. So the question persisted. The indefatigable question persisted in his mind until a spiritually awakened sage, Ashtavakra, was brought in to answer the king. To that enlightened master, the king posed the same question as though the dream had just passed. Days and days after this experience, Ashtavakra came in front of the king, and the king had the same intensity, the same urgency, as if he just had experienced it. He asked the question, am I the king who imagined myself to be a beggar? Or am I the beggar now, imagining to be a king? Am I the king who imagined myself to be a beggar? Or am I the beggar now imagining myself to be the king? The sage replied with his resounding words of wisdom. And this is very interesting. You are neither the beggar nor the king. You are neither. You are not the king, you are not the beggar, you are the self. Now you are imagining yourself to be the king. A while ago you imagined yourself to be the beggar. It is true, a while ago you had imagined yourself to be the beggar while you were dreaming. It is equally true, now you are imagining yourself to be the king. Just as you were imagining yourself to be in the dream state, experiencing the dream world, you are now imagining yourself to be in this waking state, enjoying the waking world. You are not the king, you are not the beggar. You are the self. Now you are imagining yourself to be the king. A while ago you imagined to be the beggar. Having lost your real state, you assume the position of the waker in the waking state, the dreamer in the dream state, and the deep sleeper in the deep sleep state. The waker, dreamer, and deep sleeper are your conditioned states. Your unconditioned real state is the supreme self, not the king, not the beggar, not nothing. King Janaka reverentially received his message and found the real self, found his real self. It's a beautiful conversation. It's a wonderful discourse, and it's constantly at Atma Vichara. That's the level of the discussion. So it doesn't come to karma, it doesn't come to reincarnation, bhakti, anything. It's only talking about Atma Vichara. So must you recognize your mission as a human being is to release yourself from the prison house of the waking, dream, and deep sleep. Realize you are not the waker, dreamer, or deep sleeper. You are in a prison house. I am in a prison house. We are in a prison house. It's just that we are happy being in the prison. That's it. Roti, kapda, makan, sab hai. Free boarding and lodging. So we're not worried. We're happy being in the prison. We like it. Some days we go to the beach. Some days we go to the mountains. Some days we go to the malls. We're happy. We don't need much. But the point is, it's a prison house. Why is it a prison house? Because what's a prison? Something you can't come out of. Something you can't break free of. But if you're happy within the boundaries, then it's okay. Stay in the prison. We are born in captivity. We live in captivity. We die in captivity. And largely we are happy with the captivity. Largely we are happy with the captivity. If at all we want to break free, we don't want to truly break free. We just want a little more wealth, a little more power, a little more name, fame, whatever, a little more pleasure, a little more independence. Release yourself from the prison house. Recognize your essential being, attain self-realization, spiritual enlightenment.
Actually, Utsavji, a German philosopher Nietzsche, he said that human is a bridge between animal and God. And one king said, Akbar, bridges, घर bridge के ऊपर नहीं बनाया जा सकता. We are living on a bridge. हाँ, तो ब्रिज को हमको यूज करना है। बाकी जो अष्टावक्र की स्टोरी है वो बहुत सेंसेशनल थी, और उसने आपको तो मालूम ही होगी, खैर एनीवे। तो उसका फादर was being questioned in the court of Lord Janaka, and his seat was at stake.
Hmm.
And only Ashtavakra came that to guard it, to save his father from the
Correct.
humiliation.
Correct.
And when he came, he had eight. He was Kubra, and people laughed at him. And then he also laughed. All those pandits.
Hmm.
And Janaka asked him, okay, why you laughed? They laughed, it's all right because you are looking very ugly. He said, वो सब चमार हैं. Then he was shocked. Why you are calling them चमार? He said, वो मेरी चमड़ी देख के मेरी व्याख्या कर रहे हैं. तो ये बहुत बड़ी एक वो ओपनिंग थी. And then what he replied was, ना ये सच है ना वो सच है. जो मैंने पढ़ा है मैं उसके ऊपर बोल रहा हूँ. तो ना ये सच ना वो सच. Then अष्टावक्र कहते हैं कि जनक fell on the feet of Ashtavakar. So this is the story of Ashtavakar, and it's a great book, Ashtavakar Gita, great book. And he tells state. ये भी गलत है, वो भी गलत है, कोई कॉम्प्लिकेशन नहीं है उसके सारी व्याख्या में. बहुत अच्छे. आई एम सॉरी इफ आई हैव इंटरप्टेड यू, बट this is what I heard.
So you're right, absolutely. Ashtavakra. So the name Ashtavakra comes from 8 deformities.
Eight deformity, yeah.
There's a bent, twisted,
Yeah.
looking. So we judge the book by its cover naturally. So people were judging him by his external appearance, right? Unless someone is Saumya, unless someone is handsome and well presented, we discard it. Hmm? So it's the truth. Presentation matters. Otherwise, but the more evolved you are, the less dependent you are on the opinion of others, the recognition from others. You laugh it off. So I didn't know particularly the way in which he laughed it off and responded. So thank you for that. But he was unperturbed by how people perceived him.
Sir, as you said, we are in a prison, right? But whenever somebody is a prisoner, he would always want to get out of that prison. He feels it's very uncomfortable. So
No,
probably
a lot of prisoners will be happy in the prison, free boarding and lodging.
really, then it's a different thing. I thought otherwise, like probably we don't understand only that this is a prison.
No, that's the whole point. We don't understand that this is a prison. We don't understand that this is a shackle. We think our problem will be resolved by within the prison itself. A little more freedom. Okay, I should be able to move around not only for 2 hours a day. I want freedom for 3 hours a day. I want better food in the prison. I want a library in the prison.
कुछ लोग सुधर के आते हैं प्रिजन से, कुछ लोग बिगड़ के आते हैं.
हम तो आते ही नहीं है ना, हम तो प्रेजेंट नहीं रहते. So I mean, all the problems, all the solutions to your problems, whatever problems you have in your life, the way you have envisioned the solution to it, right? It's all within the. If he understands how to the way I'm speaking, if my communication problems are solved with them. So you have a problem with someone, with your wife or your child or your business partner or whatever, right? Either a little bit more money can solve it, either a little bit more emotion can solve it, either a little bit more knowledge can solve it. That's what we think. ये थोड़ा बहुत हो जाए, then everything will be sorted. All our solutions lie within the prison house of body, mind, intellect. All our expected solutions. right? But the whole point is, if not this, then something else. No doubt, a little more money will bring a lot of freedom. No doubt, having a happy and joyous environment will bring a lot of freedom. No doubt, knowledge will bring a lot of freedom. It, it will make you more free within the prison, no doubt about it. But it doesn't set you free completely. But if you're not attuned to this question, it'll seem like what I'm speaking is rubbish. Okay, I am God.
And snake. A boy mistakes the rope for a snake. He's caught up in an illusion. He states the snake is 6 feet long, 4 inches thick, black in color. You declare the snake that he sees is just a rope. The statement of the boy is fundamentally different from yours. The boy's statement that the snake is 6 feet 4 inches and black is similar to the statement, I am Indian, I am bachelor, I am tall. The length, breadth, and color are properties of the snake, but the word rope is not so. Rope is not a property of the snake. The rope is not separate from the snake. Snake is rope. They are one, the same. So too, when you declare, I am God, it means I and God are one, the same. God is not an attribute, property. You are God. I am God, Brahman, the supreme reality.
So your gender, your race, your nationality, your ethnicity, your height, your weight, everything are attributes about you. Just like 6 feet tall, 4 inches wide, whatever, are all attributes of the snake. But distinct from that is a description, is an assertion that I am God. It's like saying the snake is rope. The snake is actually rope. So these are two very different statements, right? On one is an attribute describing the snake, the other is a clarification, reaffirming what really the snake is, right? So these are very different statements. One is an attribute, the other is an equivalence.
What a hypnosis has overthrown the human mind. Every single individual in the world believes himself to be anything other than the reality. People consider themselves to be man or woman, good or bad, brilliant or dull, etc. None would even entertain the thought that one is God. And yet the stern reality remains that everyone is God. You are that eternal being, Brahman, not this assemblage of matter you have assumed yourself to be. Vedanta roars this truth, that you are God, bids you pronounce this audaciously. I am God, Aham Brahmasmi. But the people of the world are timid, hesitant to admit the truth. They dread the thought of losing their individuality and dismiss the very idea of a human as God. They would rather cling to the world and suffer. Strange, but true. You denounce your intrinsic sovereignty and court slavery. Vedanta tirelessly appeals to your good sense to renounce your false life. Do not shy away from the truth of life. Hesitate no more. Get hold of the reality. Take charge of the kingdom within you. Be your sovereign self, the King of Kings, the Supreme Lord. You have then gained all that is to be gained in life.
So you have to shed this false identity. you have to give up this um, hesitation. The very thought of losing one's individuality is extremely scary. But until and unless you take that plunge, you will not be able to make much progress. That's why within our tradition, within our culture, we have the idea of bhiksha, we have the idea of taking on ochre robes. What is an ochre robe? When you take sannyas in the eventual sense, the ochre robe is the color of fire. You have burnt away your identity. You have burnt away all the clothing and you've donned a simple, new, reformed clothing. You take a new name, right? The guru gives the student a new name, completely erasing the erstwhile personality. So much of your personality is held together by your name. Suppose I remove the name Yasho. From today onwards, you're no longer called Yasho. Forget Yasho, forget Mohta. It's symbolic that you have to cut it off, finish. The ego is kept alive through memory, through your past association with your
So, but
identity.
we are only watering it from childhood.
अब गलती करे तो हम क्या करें?
Like,
हाँ,
I am Yashovardhan Mohta. If I start thinking I am God, so then I will also have to think that you are God. So I have to shed my identity Yashovardhan Mohta. So that we are not ready to shed it.
so if you're not ready to share it, don't share it. Okay, we
You will continue to be in the prison.
exactly, you will continue to be in the prison. You will continue to see. This is we are only pronouncing what Vedanta ultimately has to say, right? And as we said, you have to grow to a certain state to be able to appreciate this, to actually to be able to step onto the path. That's why a guru will not take us anybody and everybody and give them bhiksha, right?
तो जी हम भूल गए हैं कि औरतों के भी नाम चेंज हो जाते हैं जब उसकी शादी होती है। हमारी ट्रेडिशन में है कि लेडीज का सरनेम तो जाता ही जाता है, पर नाम भी चेंज करते हैं हम लोग। ये हमारी ट्रेडिशन में है ताकि
Correct.
उसकी आइडेंटिटी खत्म हो जाए। ये मेल चॉविनिस्ट होगी या कुछ भी होगा, तो दिस इज आल्सो वे ऑफ
Yeah, of course it's a in today's day and age that's a debatable practice, but I know because people in my family also have changed their names.
Controversial.
Funny thing is, this person in my family, in their maternal home, they're called by their old name, and in their husband's home, they're called by their new name. Even though the name has changed, but we're not able to, actually truly forget and forgive, give it up.
We are talking about Sudha Didi.
But a sannyasi will not tolerate that. A sannyasi, if he goes, first of all, he'll rarely go home.
Sir, what I was saying, sir, we only condition things from childhood. And now when we grow up and we are listening to your class, we are asked to shed it. So why we condition it only from the beginning?
Because that gives instant and immediate gratification, immediate benefit. That's what seems to be important in the world. The world caters to your ego. Because that's how the world is also served. They'll know if they cater to your ego, then you will cater to them back. If I flatter you, you'll keep me in your good books.
एक्चुअली जागरण ही मंत्र है। हम जब जाग जाएंगे तो ही मंत्र है।
किसी के पास पैसा आएगा, immediately there'll be a retinue. आप इतने ग्रेट हैं, आप तो इतने ये हैं, oh you're so smart. They'll be interested in what you do, how you live your life. Right. So we find a lot of safety and security in self-preservation. It's self-preservation, it's nothing else. Now, in the absence of knowledge, what else do we do? Self-preservation, right? And we don't know better, so that's what we teach our kids. We ingrain the ego in the kids. See, this is a very, neither do you want the child to, it's a very important education because forget the child. We neither want the individual to have an inferiority complex that I am nothing, neither a superiority complex, right? We we have to have the right idea, which is this: so long as you are the waker, live by the waking state of consciousness. Enjoy the waking world, but but have an idea of what lies beyond. So we are only passing down what we know and how we know to live. So that's what's happening. We have to reform ourselves. See, Swamiji used to say, 99% of people are not ready to be parents. If a student would go up to him, hey, you want to get married? Silly fellow. And so even if you want to get married, you want to have a child. He would say it half jokingly, but half serious. Because see, when culturally we have lost our roots, we don't know what to pass on to the next generation. We don't know what knowledge to give them, right? We are just imitating, aping a certain culture and then passing it on to them. The solution is not to simply stop marrying or stop having kids, or we can't stop that either. We'll have a demographic collapse. But something like that is only said to make you conscious of, okay, what will it take for me to be ready? What will it take for me to actually be qualified, right? So you have to familiarize yourself with this eternal knowledge, with this value system.
We
And
actually
then will you
giving
be able to pass it on to the next generation, to those under your influence. Not only your kids, but anybody in your influence, right? Anybody
confused
around you.
generation, sir. We're
Anji?
actually, I'm saying it's a confused generation. We're not giving the right education because we ourselves are so ignorant of a lot of things.
It's a confused several generations.
Yeah, true that. Yeah.
It's a confused several generations, and the world will constantly challenge that. The world is constantly changing. The way we are living is constantly changing. The entire challenge is to pick out the eternal in the ephemeral. To okay, what are sort of eternal principles that will continue to remain relevant as we move from the industrial world to the AI world to the digital world, people are not, people at large are not ready for the pace of change. So that's why this knowledge is relevant. I would assume. My assumption is that this is why we need to study this. Nothing else. It'll just help you to make sense of your life, to relate to the world around you, to make the right decisions in the right manner.
सर जी, आई बिलीव कि जो मैकाले था वो हमारी एजुकेशन का बेड़ा गर्क करके गया है. हमारी जो गुरुकुल की जो शिक्षा थी,
अब वो तो कब चला गया, वो कितने दिन पहले चला गया, उसके बाद हम क्या कर रहे हैं?
नहीं, मैकाले भी बहुत गड़बड़ करके गया.
हाँ, तो गड़बड़ करके गया, बट एक बार कोई आकर के आपका घर बिगाड़ दे, आप सही भी तो करोगे. हम कितने दिन दूसरों को ब्लेम करते रहेंगे, उन्होंने ऐसे किया, वैसे उन्होंने किया, उसकी वजह से वैसे हुआ, उसकी वजह से ऐसे हुआ.
नहीं वो तो ठीक है,
कि
जब जागो जब सवेरा।
हमारे देश में अभी एक ऐसा माहौल आ गया है कि जिनके पास पैसा है, जिनके पास वो है, एक्सेस है, वो ऐश में जी रहे हैं, वो घूम रहे हैं, फिर रहे हैं, कर रहे हैं, बट nobody is we are
बट
happy to just blame the past and that's not the solution. We are happy to अब देखिए यहाँ पे 1000 साल पुराना मंदिर निकला है, ये निकला है, we just happy to remain in the glory of the past कि 1000 साल पहले हम इतने अच्छे थे और इन्होंने गड़बड़ करके हमें बर्बाद कर दिया। हम कितने दिन ऐसे जिएंगे, इस एक्सक्यूज के साथ जिएंगे? दैट्स नॉट अ सोल्यूशन। ऑफ कोर्स बहुत गलत हुआ है इस देश में, बहुत पर सब जगह होता है। सिर्फ हम सोचते हैं कि सिर्फ हमारे साथ ही गलती हुई है, हमारे साथ ही
वही बोलते हैं ना कि
ऐसे
जब जागो।
कितने हैं जो मिट गए हैं, ऐसे कितने हैं जो जिनके साथ गलत हुआ है और जो मिट गए हैं, जो कोई बाकी नहीं रहा है उनकी कहानी बोलने के लिए।
लेकिन जागने की जरूरत तो है, जब जागो जब सवेरा, सवेरे की
हाँ,
जरूरत
बट
है।
जागने का मतलब क्या होता है?
हाँ,
मैं आपको कहने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ कि टू एक्चुअली वेक अप, स्टैंड अप डजंट मीन टू स्टैंड अप एंड ब्लेम द पास्ट, राइट?
we have to forget all.
That's not sufficient. You absolutely have to forget and move ahead, यार.
If you don't forget, then तो हम
Not
अपना
forget, don't forget, but learn from it.
Pick out what is relevant, pick out what is relevant, pick out what is eternal, and take it forward. So what I'm saying is that ठीक है, while you learn from the past also, I mean, what are you doing to go ahead? That's the question, you know. Even in this Hindu renaissance of sorts, it's important that we actually pick up on these Sanatan values, right? Who's doing that? Who's talking about detachment? Who's talking about titiksha? Who's talking about these incredible principles? Anyway,
आज वैसे दुनिया में भी देखो तो हिंदुस्तान के जो हिंदू लोग हैं छाए हुए हैं, हायर पोस्ट ऑल्सो। अभी सुना है कनाडा में भी जो है अनीता आनंद क्या उसको रिप्लेस कर रही है, ट्रूडो को।
अच्छा,
हाँ, उसी की कैबिनेट की वो ट्रांसपोर्ट मिनिस्टर थी। तो ट्रूडो इज ऑल्सो गोइंग। जो 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 उनकी मानसिक जो उनकी स्थिति है, इंडियन वैल्यूज जो भी है हमारी, वो बहुत साउंड है। और उसकी वजह से हम लोग प्रोग्रेस भी कर रहे हैं। लेकिन ये है कि बाधा भी बहुत है, बहुत ज़्यादा डिस्ट्रक्शन भी है, और लोग समझ भी रहे हैं।
करेक्ट। और आप जितने भी एग्जाम्पल ले रहे हो, ज़्यादातर हम इस देश के बाहर बहुत प्रोग्रेस कर रहे हैं, एंड शायद इस देश में भी प्रोग्रेस हो रही है, बट इज इट हैपनिंग इन द राइट way? Is it happening in the right, and sure, there are people and leaders who are maybe bringing about that change, but as individuals, what are we doing? That is the question.
या
Interested in individuals. As an individual, what are you doing to
सुनने में आता है 4 वार तो उस वक्त भी थे। भगवान कृष्ण के टाइम में भी लोग अगेंस्ट तो थे ही थे ना उनके,
correct?
लेकिन फिर
Charu
भी
were there. Absolutely.
या
Nastik, Charvakas,
बिल्कुल।
Jaists. Yeah. Yeah, Prachi, you have a question.
Yeah, I was saying that we were talking about this prison that we're in, and we don't know how to get out of it, or we don't want to get out of it. So it is also because we don't know what lies outside it,
Yeah.
and there's very little known about. Even when it's conveyed through words, it's difficult for us to actually understand or visualize what that life is outside what we know life to be like.
Yep.
Like I'm watching this series called The Silo, where they're inside a prison-like place, like where they're all living in a underground world, and they've forgotten what the real world is like outside. They don't know what is an ocean or even a star.
Yeah.
So similarly, for us, when we are in this waking world, and we don't know what that fourth state is like of the real self, to relate to it or to even think of wanting to be there, that question sort of becomes very, sort of mystifies you.
Yeah. No, you are absolutely right. I think you've hit the nail on the head. That we don't know what lies outside, right? So because we don't know what lies outside, in perhaps that's the reason we're happy to be here, and
Yeah.
explore the darkness. And which is why we say that only as you evolve do you begin to actually develop that conviction and that interest in this journey. And when I say evolve, what I mean is through the process of detachment, through the process of this spirit of renunciation, when you begin to disassociate with your material equipments, begin to develop that spirit of sakshi bhava, of objectivity, and see it play out in the world around you, see it play out in your own experience, then you begin to get a slight conviction that uh, maybe there is something beyond just being attached and involved in the waking state of consciousness, right? uh, a lot of times difficult experiences also sort of force us, push us into that journey. So until and unless these things happen, people are not they're not enthused, or um, they don't have that conviction, right? So you're absolutely right. You're absolutely. So my suggestion in that case, because this applies to me as much as it applies to you, my suggestion in that case is to keep this in the back burner. You're reading this, you may not be able to completely appreciate it, but keep it at the back of your head. And as you go through lived experience, as you go through life's ups and downs and life's metamorphosis in general, slowly it may make more sense to you, right? This is coming from not just one individual. This is not coming from one person. This is coming from a galaxy of sages. This is the Guru Shishya Parampara, where countless sages from their own lived experience have pronounced this, right? Tomorrow, if I were to have this lived experience, I would be able to communicate it with more conviction, right?
Yeah.
So that's why you need a master. A master is
Good.
someone
Oh, no,
who has the art of communicating this in a way you need it, right? So that's where a person like me is limited, and perhaps you need a master to actually convey their lived experience. The extent to which you have a lived experience of something, you'll be able to communicate, convey to another person.
Yeah.
So keep this in the back of your head, and um, you know yeah, hopefully life will throw experiences your way. People will come your way who will help you develop more conviction about this.
As you said, sir, we all are looking for this instant gratification. The problem is this. Like we see a Warren Buffett, we see a Elon Musk. So that becomes a very clear inspiration, very easy, relatable. Here, as you said, we don't see anything and we fall in the traps. Actually, why people get mystified with these godmen is also because of this reason only. They get trapped into these so-called godmen also. So we don't have a real godman who can be our Elon Musk or our Warren Buffett in this spirituality.
No, there are many such people, but a true teacher will tell you eventually that you have to walk your own path, right? You can't simply cling to. I would disagree with you. There are many such. This land is gifted with so many sages and saints. The problem is with us that we want to ape them. We want to mimic them. See, even in the material field, simply mimicking Elon Musk, simply being associated with it will not make you an Elon Musk, right?
जो उत्सव जी ने कहा है, मैं उसके ऊपर दूसरी तरह से सोचता हूँ। जैसे बाजार में नए नए फल आते हैं, तो हम उसको चख के देखते हैं, कुछ फल बहुत अच्छे लगते हैं हमको, उसको कंटिन्यूअसली खाते हैं। और वो इसी तरह जो बड़े लोगों ने इतने अच्छे अच्छे विचार छोड़ के गए हैं, हम उनको विचारों को एक एक को चख के देखें, उसको, दे आर फ्रूट्स ऑफ विजडम, उनको चख के अगर देखें, तो अगर अच्छा लगे तो खाओ, नहीं अच्छा लगे तो छोड़ दो। तो में जो मजा है, जो इतना कुछ लोग हमारे ऋषि छोड़ के गए हैं, जो उत्सव जी बोल रहे हैं, बिल्कुल ठीक बोल रहे हैं, कि हम ट्राई ही नहीं करते कि भाई नया फल खा के देखें कैसा है, उसको अगर अच्छा नहीं लगे तो छोड़ दो। मेरा अपना विचार है, मैं
Yeah, absolutely. And देखिए, अल्टीमेटली टू सेव यू फ्रॉम इंस्टेंट ग्रेटिफिकेशन, यशो जी, आपको अपने बुद्धि का भी इस्तेमाल करना पड़ेगा. A lot of times what seems glamorous and what seems attractive is actually not as you know हम मार्केटिंग करके आपको कुछ बेच तो देंगे, बट आप जब एक्सपीरियंस करोगे तो लगेगा कि यार अब मुझे याद है, अ, 4-5 साल पहले बहुत ऐड आई थी, एंड आई एम सॉरी, आई डोंट नेसेसरली वांट टू डिमीन अ पर्टिकुलर एस्टेब्लिशमेंट और समथिंग, बट गुलमर्ग में एक होटल है, खाइबर बोल करके, राइट.
Yes.
बहुत ऐड आई थी, बहुत अच्छी अच्छी फोटो खींची थी उन्होंने. उनका एक स्विमिंग पूल है, वहाँ पे एक ग्लास फसाड है, बाहर स्नो है, आपको लगेगा आप जन्नत पहुंच गए हो.
Absolutely. ऐसा कुछ नहीं था.
तो बहुत अच्छे से इंस्टाग्राम में ऐड वैड दिया उन्होंने, एंड कुछ लोग गए, इंक्लूडिंग माई सेल्फ, राइट. मुझे लगा कि मैं जन्नत पहुंच जाऊंगा, कहीं नहीं पहुंचा मैं, राइट. सो मार्केटिंग करके एक अट्रैक्शन पा करके, ठीक है, आप चीज़ बेच सकते हो, राइट. यू कैन डेवलप अ मार्केट फॉर समथिंग, but will it actually, so either you learn from that experience after getting duped कि यार ठीक है, maybe this is not as gratifying as I had actually imagined it to be, or with a little bit of buddhi, with a little bit of intellect also, you can analyze that okay, there may not be much depth to this, right. So as you become wise in that sense, you don't fall for marketing gimmicks, right. So the way out of instant gratification is developing your buddhi,
So
right.
I'm
That
really-
same buddhi will give you it will give you a different direction in life. It will give you a deeper direction in life.
I may sound repeating. You think a 6-month baby also, we make them instant gratify. So we are continuously pushing them towards instant gratification.
करना नहीं चाहिए, करना नहीं चाहिए. अब देखिए, मैं आई एम नॉट अ पेरेंट येट, सो आई डोंट नो हाउ आई विल बिहेव, बट आई डू हैव सम strong opinions in this matter.
From 6 months to an 80-year-old, my father is 84-year-old. उनको भी मैं instant gratify करता हूँ. He also becomes happy.
So so I was just reading a study recently of the correlation between developing a habit of doing chores and success in life. When you raise a child in the spirit of responsibility rather than catering to their whims and fancies, when you develop a spirit of, say, collaboration within a family where these are your responsibility, you do certain chores, you have a certain discipline with a mix of enjoyment, right. When you develop that kind of an environment as opposed to simply a doting, catering, gratifying environment, right. And the study shows that a clear indication that if you have that environment, the chances of success are much higher. If you have simply a doting environment, you severely diminish the chances of that. Forget spiritual success, even material success, right. So that way of upbringing is incorrect. We still think that we are kings and our children are princes and princesses. हम वहां से उतरे नहीं है, right. So it's wrong, but we continue to do it. I think one more generation and this will stop. See, even as our economy opens up now, even as competition opens up, we'll see that unless and until people actually have substance, they won't be able to succeed. So far, even till say my generation or maybe the next generation, if you come from an influential and wealthy background, you're able to, ride on that success. But maybe the next generation, the competition will intensify so much that people, the way in which they are brought up, people, the way in which they are. This is just a prophecy. I don't know. This is just an analysis. So yeah, instant gratification and
आप ठीक बोल रहे हैं. देखिए,
doesn't
अभी
work.
अभी 95% मार्क्स लेने के बाद भी he is not sure whether he'll get admission in a college, engineering college. जबकि मैं in 1954 में 73% मार्क्स भी आए, तो I was very happy and I got admission also in engineering college. So that was the thing. तो अभी requirement इतना भी होने के बावजूद भी the competition is so high, population बहुत है,
Correct.
colleges भी बहुत है. Even then, challenges are much more now.
Correct.
So why I'm constantly talking about this? Just look at the politics. I'm maybe digressing. In last 2 years, the present incumbent government also has changed its stance and has realized that instant gratification is the way to get votes. And this is happening. They were earlier not doing this. They started with AAP. They started instant gratify this doling of money, and now every state, every party is doing instant gratification, and they are winning elections with this Ma Ladli Ladki Yojana. So that's all this instant gratification. It's coming everywhere.
Yeah.
From a child to a nation.
It's catering to the common masses. The common masses are ignorant about it. I guess that's why it is
Ignorant about it. Why common mass? I'm also ignorant about my instant gratification.
right, which is why we are in this class. We're learning.
We are the lucky few to be there to realize at
Absolutely.
least something.
Yes, undoubtedly.
I know.
That is the malady of a democracy actually. ये democracy में जो है गधा भी वोट जो है उसकी भी उतनी ही वैल्यू है जितनी हमारे इंटेलिजेंट पर्सन की वैल्यू है. तो आप क्या कर सकते हैं उसमें? तो हिंदुस्तान में इग्नोरेंट कितने हैं? हम लोग बहुत ज्यादा हैं, और वो इग्नोरेंस यही है, पैसा लेके वोट देते हैं वो सब, और अभी भी अंधविश्वास बहुत है.
सर ये हिंदुस्तानी क्या बात नहीं है, ये सब ह्यूमन इंस्टेंट ग्रेटिफिकेशन ये हर जगह है. कोविड में अमेरिका में भी लोगों को $2,000 उनके बैंक में डाला गया था. इट इज नॉट कि हम इंडियंस को डीमिंग करने की बात नहीं हो रही है. ये इट्स ह्यूमनली वी गेट सो अट्रैक्टेड टुवर्ड्स दिस इंस्टेंट ग्रेटिफिकेशन.
नहीं, ये लोअर लेवल में भी नहीं है. मैं आपको बताता हूँ, जो अभी अमेरिका में बाइडन है, अभी छोड़ के जब जा रहा है, ही इज गिविंग क्लेमेंसी टू सो मेनी पीपल, एंड ही इज नॉट गिविंग
इंडिया से यहाँ से
not free of cost. He's taking money for that.
Okay. So we talked about and about. They talked about and about. I'm going to exit from the scene where I am. Huh. The masses will remain the masses. This is not a new thing. पहले राजा भी ऐसे ही करते थे हजारों साल पहले. ठीक है. Question is, do you want to remain the masses or do you want to evolve? Right. So even once you evolve, people around you will still do this. Instant gratification. See, it's not going to change. The proportion of people who are going to be interested in instant gratification is always going to remain higher than those who are going to, say, take control of their own lives. And the proportion of those who take control of their own lives is going to be higher than those who turn truly spiritual. So that proportion, it's a pyramid. It's always going to be there. Okay. For every one speaker of truth, there are going to be 10 liars. There are going to be 10 people who take shortcuts. Do you take the shortcut then, is the question. Right. So this is the world. It's not going to change. Right. It might appear more glamorous, but this is an eternal proportion that's going to remain. It's going to remain. Question is, which tier do you want to fall into? Do you want to fall into the lowest of masses? Do you want to fall into the middle tier? Do you want to fall into the upper middle tier? Or do you want to rise to the zenith? Right? So you have to chart your own individual journey. So these Vedanta is not interested in how the world will be. The world will be how it is. Right? It's speaking to you for your own individual journey, for your own individual growth. Okay.
Absolutely true. People who are remembered, उनको देखो वो क्या करके गए हैं, उनको याद करो. जिनको हम याद करते हैं उन वो ही हमारे उनसे ही सीखो बस. That's good enough.
Correct. Absolutely. Okay. With that thought, we'll conclude today and we'll see you again next week.
Thank you very much. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Hari Om.